We didn't say I love you in our house, not to each other, not to our parents. It was an unspoken rule, a silent agreement that these words were unnecessary. It wasn't that we didn't feel love, it just wasn't something we expressed openly. Love was there, but it was hidden beneath layers of unspoken understanding and quiet gestures. Hugs were stiff and quick, reserved for holidays and special occasions. They were more of a formality than a genuine expression of affection. Affection was implied, assumed, but rarely spoken. It was in the way my mother would make my favorite meal when I was feeling down, or how my father would fix things around the house without being asked. I grew up thinking this was normal. I believed that love was something you showed through actions, not words. Everyone's house was like this, wasn't it? I assumed that all families operated under the same unspoken rules. It wasn't until I spent time with friends' families that I realized something was different. Their homes were filled with a warmth and openness that was foreign to me. Their homes were filled with laughter, easy touches, and open displays of affection. It was a stark contrast to the quiet, reserved atmosphere of my own home. They said I love you casually, like breathing air. It was a natural part of their daily interactions, something that flowed effortlessly from their lips. I remember feeling a strange mix of envy and discomfort. Envy because their families seemed so warm, so inviting. Envy because their families seemed so warm. They had a closeness that I longed for but didn't know how to achieve. Discomfort because I didn't know how to be a part of it. I felt awkward and out of place, unsure of how to respond to their open displays of affection. I felt like an outsider looking in, unsure of the language they spoke. Their easy expressions of love were like a foreign language to me, one that I didn't understand. This early experience planted a seed of unease within me, a quiet questioning of whether I was worthy of such open affection. I began to wonder if there was something wrong with me, something that made me unworthy of love. It was the beginning of a wall I would spend years trying to dismantle, a wall built from years of unspoken words and hidden feelings, a barrier that kept me from fully experiencing the love that was all around me. As I grew older, I began to understand the importance of verbal expressions of love. I realized that saying I love you wasn't just about the words, it was about making the other person feel seen and valued. I started to practice saying I love you to my family members. At first it felt awkward and forced, but over time it became more natural. To my surprise, my family responded positively. They began to say it back. And slowly, the atmosphere in our home started to change. We became more open and affectionate with each other. The stiff hugs became warmer. The quiet gestures were accompanied by words of love and appreciation. Looking back, I realized that this journey of learning to express love verbally has been one of the most important lessons of my life. It has taught me that love is not just something you feel, but something you share openly and freely. Today, I feel a sense of fulfillment and connection with my family that I never thought possible. We have learned to break down the walls of silence and build bridges of love and understanding. And now, when we say I love you, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. It is a reminder that love, when expressed openly, has the power to transform and heal. Teenage years were a minefield of confusing emotions. Every day felt like a new challenge, a new puzzle to solve. The highs were exhilarating, but the lows were devastating. It was a time of self-discovery, yet also a period of intense self-doubt. Crushes felt like life or death situations. The mere sight of the person I liked could send my heart racing, my palms sweating. Every interaction was analyzed and reanalyzed. Every word they said was dissected for hidden meanings. Friendships were intense and all-consuming. My friends were my world, my lifeline. We shared everything from our deepest secrets to our wildest dreams. Yet these relationships were also fraught with drama and misunderstandings. And through it all, I grappled with the invisible wall I carried within me. This wall was built from years of insecurity and fear, a barrier that kept me from truly connecting with others. I longed for connection, for someone to tell me they cared. I wanted to be seen, to be understood. But I often felt like an outsider, watching from the sidelines as others effortlessly navigated the social landscape. But when it came to expressing my own feelings, I froze. The words I wanted to say got stuck in my throat, tangled up in my anxiety. I feared that speaking my truth would make me vulnerable, open to rejection. The words felt foreign, clumsy in my mouth. Writing them down in my journal was easier, but even then, I struggled to articulate my emotions. It was as if my feelings were a foreign language I had yet to master. I was terrified of rejection, of my vulnerability being met with silence or worse, ridicule. The thought of being laughed at or dismissed was paralyzing. It was easier to keep my feelings bottled up, hidden away. Dating was an awkward dance. I was constantly second-guessing myself, unsure of the rules. Every date felt like a test, and I was terrified of failing. The pressure to be perfect, to say and do the right things was overwhelming. I overthought every interaction, every touch. A simple text message could send me into a spiral of doubt and anxiety. Did I say the right thing? Did they understand what I meant? The uncertainty was exhausting. Was I being too forward? Not forward enough? The balance was delicate, and I was constantly afraid of tipping the scales. I wanted to be close to others, but I didn't want to come on too strong. I was desperate to get it right, to fit in with this language of love that seemed to come so naturally to others. I watched my peers with envy, wondering how they made it look so easy. Their confidence was something I could only dream of, but the fear of getting it wrong often paralyzed me. I would find myself frozen in social situations, unable to speak or move. The fear of making a mistake was so great that it kept me from taking any action at all. I carried the weight of my family's unspoken rulebook like a heavy coat, suffocating under its weight. The expectations and pressures from home added another layer of complexity to my already tumultuous teenage years. The struggle to break free from its grip became a defining theme of my adolescence. I yearned for independence, for the freedom to be myself. But breaking free was easier said than done. It was a journey, a process of slowly chipping away at the walls that confined me. In the midst of all this, I found solace in creative activities. Painting, writing, and playing music became my escape, a way to express the emotions I couldn't put into words. These moments of creativity were my sanctuary, a place where I could be myself without fear of judgment. And there were moments of genuine connection, too. Times when I let my guard down and allowed myself to be vulnerable. These moments were rare, but they were precious. They reminded me that I wasn't alone, that there were people who cared about me. As I navigated the minefield of my teenage years, I learned valuable lessons about love, friendship, and self-acceptance. It wasn't an easy journey, but it was one that shaped me into the person I am today. And for that, I am grateful. As I entered adulthood, the impact of my upbringing became impossible to ignore. I craved intimacy, but struggled to let people in. I built walls around my heart, convinced that true connection was something I wasn't meant to experience. Without role models for healthy emotional expression, I fumbled through relationships, unsure of how to navigate vulnerability and trust. I gravitated towards partners who mirrored my own emotional distance, unconsciously perpetuating the cycle of guarded affection. It was a painful realization that I was subconsciously recreating the very dynamic I longed to escape. I was drawn to what felt familiar, even if it meant settling for surface-level connections that left me feeling empty and unfulfilled. The lack of emotional mirroring in my early life left me feeling like a ship without a compass, lost at sea and unsure of how to find my way back to shore. Loss has a way of magnifying our deepest fears and insecurities. When I experienced the death of someone close to me, the invisible wall I'd built around my heart solidified into a seemingly impenetrable fortress. Grief threatened to drown me in a sea of unsaid words and unexpressed emotions. The regret of missed opportunities to say I love you echoed through the empty spaces left behind. I vowed to never take love for granted again, to express it freely and without reservation. But old habits die hard. The fear of vulnerability, of being hurt again, kept me tethered to my comfort zone of emotional restraint. I was caught in a heartbreaking paradox, desperate for connection yet terrified of the very thing I craved most. The experience of loss cracked open my heart, but it also reinforced the invisible wall, making the journey towards genuine connection even more daunting. The path to healing hasn't been linear. It's been a journey filled with twists and turns, much like this winding path through the forest. Each step forward has been met with moments of doubt and uncertainty, but also with rays of hope breaking through the canopy above. It's been a messy, uncomfortable journey of self-discovery, filled with setbacks and breakthroughs in equal measure. The clutter in this room mirrors the chaos in my mind, where thoughts and emotions are scattered, waiting to be sorted and understood. Each piece of paper, each book, represents a part of my story that I am slowly piecing together. But through therapy, journaling, and the support of a few trusted friends, I've begun to chip away at the wall brick by brick. Each session, each entry, each conversation is a chisel in my hand, helping me break down the barriers that have kept me from truly knowing myself. It's a slow process, but with each brick that falls, I feel a little lighter, a little freer. I've learned that vulnerability is not a weakness, but the birthplace of courage and connection. Standing here with my eyes closed, I am reminded that opening up, showing my true self, takes immense strength. It's in these moments of vulnerability that I find the courage to connect with others on a deeper level, to build relationships that are genuine and meaningful. I've discovered that expressing my needs and feelings doesn't make me needy or demanding, but rather, it allows me to show up more authentically in my relationships. Writing in my journal has become a sacred practice, a way to articulate my innermost thoughts and emotions. It's through this process that I learn to communicate more effectively, to ask for what I need without fear of judgment. It's still a work in progress, this unraveling of years of ingrained patterns. Like this plant slowly growing and unfurling, my journey of healing is gradual and ongoing. Each day brings new challenges and new opportunities for growth. I am learning to be patient with myself, to honor the pace at which I am able to change and evolve. There are days when the wall feels insurmountable, when the fear of rejection threatens to pull me back into the shadows. Standing before this tall wall, I am reminded of the times when my fears seemed too great to overcome. But I also remember that I have faced these fears before and emerged stronger each time. But then there are moments, fleeting but powerful, where I catch a glimpse of what's possible on the other side. The sunlight streaming through the window illuminates these moments of clarity and realization. It's in these brief instances that I see the potential for a life filled with love, joy, and connection. These glimmers of hope, these small victories over my own fear, fuel my desire to keep going, to keep striving for a love that is both given and received with open arms. Reaching out for a hug, I'm reminded of the power of human connection, of the warmth and comfort that comes from being embraced by someone who truly cares. It's these moments that keep me moving forward, that give me the strength to continue my journey of healing and self-discovery.